to start. Let me share screen. Cool. Can everybody see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. So WTF is Git. Let's hop right into it because 30 minutes is 25 minutes is not a lot of time.
Yep, I'm back.
Okay. Git is a distributed virtual system for tracking changes to files. It was created by Linus Torvalds, the guy who made Linux like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. And it's very quickly grown to be one of, if not the most widely used version control system in software development and other industries as well. It
Hello.
It's sorry, I'm just reading something.
Yeah, it's a great tool to use when you're working on stuff for an extended period of time, and that you're going to be putting a lot of work into. Because some of these reasonings are like if you're just writing up a quick project, or you're doing a small little homework assignment, you may or may not want to use it. But for me, I'm working on this simulation game projecty kind of thing where I'm pulling the economy section of the game that I really like out of it, and I'm building it on my own as best as I can. And Git allows me to basically, let's say, work on my desktop. I write some code, I work on it, I spend an evening, and then I save it, and then I can go work and I push it to GitHub, which is the online cloud hosting. And then I can, let's say, go somewhere else. If I have my laptop, I can pull it back down and I can work on somewhere else. Or if, let's say, Evan is interested in my project, he can see it on GitHub and go, hey, I want to work on that. So he can pull down a version of it and start working on it. And then later, if he wants to, if I thought that was like really good code he made, I can add it into the original project even.
Yeah.
And so it's a great tool for long-term and group coordination.
So why would you use it? As Liam said, projects that you want to share with people or projects that more than one person works on. Absolutely, like this is what it's made for. This is what it was made to do. Sometimes adding things to projects. Sometimes people add bad code. Sometimes people add bugs, and that's just how it is. And you need a way to roll that back without breaking everything, or you need a way to autonomously store every change that you've done and keep track of those changes in case you want to go back and roll back a change, or even as we'll get to if we have time, pick and choose changes and exclude certain changes that you've made in your development lifecycle. Potentially tens of thousands of people contributing changes to a project. Anywhere from one or two people to 1 or 2,000 people adding things to a project. Things that can bugs can be introduced. Things can break, and when you have more than one person working on a project, I might be developing a feature for Liam's econ sim, and a change I make or a function I develop might break something that he's done. So Git allows you to have parallel workflows and then merge your workflows together and resolve inconsistencies and cleanly merge them in a way that allows everything to allows multiple people to work on their own a feature without breaking everything else, and then allows them to more or less seamlessly merge the work they've done.
That way, if I delete a file that Evan was working on and he goes to save his stuff, and it's not just gone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I was actually going to use something there. And
Hmm.
I will say, so we've been giving it the context of software development, but I find that it's something that's actually pretty useful for any file because really Git can track anything that is a file of any type. Um, and the interesting thing there is it saves space because rather than saving, let's say, a whole copy of the project or the file or the files each time you save, what it does is it only tracks the differences. So if I have a Word document and I save it, okay, that first initial thing is all saved and pushed up. But then it's only taking up the space if I add a new line, it's Git just goes, oh, just this one line. That's all I need to worry about. That's changed. And so you actually are able to store lots and lots of different projects and versions of the project in a way that's actually pretty space efficient and easy to kind of change and switch between because it's not just like terabytes of data as you keep making all these versions. It's just very smart with how it kind of slices things up by commits, as they're called, the
Hmm.
change groups.
Yeah, it starts with an origin or like a first commit, and then it stores they're called deltas, or you can just think of them as changes. So it simply change or it stores the change from um, yeah, it stores that this chain of changes.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes you can go back and pluck out one of those changes and keep the rest if you just want to get rid of one specific change you've made.
Um,
Um,
Real quick,
and
oh,
yep,
sorry. Feel free to post questions for us in the Workshop One chat channel as we go, and we'll kind of get to them. Uh,
yes.
mhm.
Um, oh yeah. So as far as like a 30-minute intro to Git workshop goes, the three things you're going to want to worry about are commits, branching, and pull requests. Well, you might not have to worry about pull requests at a game jam too much, but uh, commits and branches for sure. Um, so the changes we were talking about, every time you write a bunch of code and you save it and you want to commit it to the repository, you perform a commit. Pretty self-explanatory. Um, Branching. If I want to do some work on Liam's econ sim, I will create a new branch. I will develop my own feature or do whatever I want to do with it. And if I want to merge it back into the project later, I can merge it. I can merge that branch back into the master branch.
Mhm.
Um, so I can develop my own thing. Liam can continue developing his own thing, and then we can resolve the differences between those branches and commit the changes. Um, and lastly, pull requests. So Git works by having the distributed element of Git is you have what's the keyword for cloud hosted Git repositories. I don't know. I think there's a specific name for it, but you
Oh,
have
repositories.
remote repositories. You have remote repositories like GitHub or GitLab,
Mhm.
or it might be hosted on a private corporate server somewhere,
Yeah,
and you have local repositories on your own computer.
yeah.
Um,
It's
so
kind of confusing for me at first when I was trying to figure out like what it meant by remote and local, but it's described. A lot of Git language is described from your computer outwards, if that makes sense. So your local, if it's describing something as local or closer to you, it's usually your machine that you're working on at any given moment. And
mhm,
like he said, remote is just going to be like, yeah, um, can be anywhere.
yeah,
Um, Real quick, would you guys be interested in seeing us do a little like demo, a little example with like a text file, and we can showcase
Yeah.
towards the end?
is there workshops after this one actually?
Um, yes,
There
there is,
is.
but I
Okay,
think let
I
me.
I want to push them into which we're gonna do in a sec. We're gonna do learn Git branching, and then have anybody do questions. But we can do demonstrations after.
Mm,
Um, the request. Oh yeah, so you have remote and you have local repositories. all your stuff, you like the whole project itself is generally hosted or generally kept remote. And then whenever you want to update on your machine or you start your workday or whatever, um, you pull or you pull or you clone from the remote repository. You move all the code to your local machine. You work with it. Um, you commit to uh, the branch that you're working on locally, and then when you're done, you push that branch. You push the branch and the changes to that branch to the remote server. Um, and now we're gonna hop into here. Let me post this in. Um, so the best way to learn Git is definitely by learning on your own. Um, so I posted this link in workshop 1, and if everybody wants to start doing that, that would be most beneficial. Um, this is a simple on Rails way to learn Git. It explains everything that I think it explains most of what we just explained as well, um, but in a sort of in a much more hand holding sort of way, and really encourages taking it one step at a time. Um, yeah. Yeah. So hopefully most of you have clicked the link and have switched over. I have no way of knowing. But yeah, ideally follow this tutorial. I would say actually where's the let's see. A good goal to work towards, and um, I would say you'd probably want to do 1 through 4 of intro sequence. Um, maybe 1 through 4 of ramping up, and then probably 1 through 8 of remote. That's definitely that'll get you 90% of the way there. And if anybody has questions or anybody gets stuck, um, uh, you can either type it in the chat or you can unmute and say so. Yeah. Well, not all of it. I don't think you can get through all of it in 10 minutes, but I think you could get through at least the first 4, 1 through 4 in introduction, and maybe a few more after that, and some of the remotes. And actually, while that's going on, I'll just have a quick. I'll say a quick thing about installing it. I'm sharing the whole screen, right? Okay. Oh, right. Git for Windows. What was that, Gage? Well, Git for Windows is a specific thing, isn't it? Oh. Git is installed different ways, and if you're on a Mac or a Linux, you're going to have a much easier time because all you have to do is open your terminal, and this is once you actually like start the game jam and want to start using it. But you generally just open the terminal and then you'll type if you're on Mac, probably brew install Git or your package manager of choice, and then just install Git, and it'll take care of it. If you're on Windows, you'll have to download. I think 64-bit Git for Windows, and on Windows, if I uh, open Git, it will actually open the name of my computer is Old Chunky Boy. Ignore that. It'll actually open like a fake Linux terminal, so it works the same way. So that way, any commands and any documentation you see for Git will be for Mac, Windows, and Linux.
How do you detach head?
Detach head.
Yeah.
Was it just detached?
Yeah,
Or was it?
it says warning detached head state.
What is a detached head, Evan?
So head is. I can't remember. Wait, how do I get out of this? Do you know which one that was? One or four or?
It's one.
Oh, right there.
Oh.
Detach your head.
Oh, detaching your head. Head is Man, I never got the concept of head. I don't know why head was a thing.
What
You
you'll
know.
learn is that there's lots of stuff to know, and that the more you find out, the more you realize you don't know.
No worries.
Yeah,
Is
but
head not just where you're currently pointing?
Yeah, because I think I accidentally typed in git
I think.
twice instead of git
Hmm.
commit, and then it just made a head, I guess. Got it.
Oh, okay. Head is just where your head is just like the current working directory of Git, essentially. Yeah.
Got it.
I think it's useful for when, say, like if you look at what I'm streaming right now, you have like this first branch, and then you have these two branching off. Well, what if you wanted to branch the green branch? What if you wanted to branch again, but not at the most recent commit, but at the one before? You could detach your head to point at C3 instead of C4. That's really small. I don't know if you can see that. You can detach the head to point at the commit before and then branch. If you wanted to, say, go back and branch, so it's useful for some things. But generally, I don't think for a game jam you'll really want to use head all that much. Right, I don't think you'll need to worry too much about it.
yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So let me get my thing set up real quick. Yeah, because I think just a brief example of what we can do, the bare minimum. Yeah. So let's see.
So let's say
Yeah. So explain where you are on the GitHub page, Evan. What are you looking at?
so I just went to Liam's or one of Liam's repositories. So C to Rust. It looks like he's converting some Rust solutions to problems in a program.
It's a book. Yeah, it's a book to learn C programming, but I'm completing all the solutions in a different language just for fun.
Yeah. So say I want to contribute to this project, so I can. So my my current directory is Evan. Let's maybe go to um, let's move over to desktop. Is it clone? It's clone.
Yeah,
Right?
Git clone. Oh yeah, you're in the. If you're in the Git terminal, do you need to say Git clone anymore?
No,
Yeah,
it's a bash emulator.
yeah.
So git clone, and then I think it's just the
The link. If you hit that code on GitHub, it'll give you that link.
Where?
Right there,
It's
code.
what? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so Evan just downloaded my project, so he now has a working version of it. And if he makes changes to it here on his computer, it's not going to affect the main repository.
So now I'm in the. So now I'm in the C to Rust directory on my desktop that I cloned from GitHub. And if I do ls, which in Bash and Linux and Mac terminal is just list everything. I think it's ls and PowerShell too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so ls is just list everything. -a is list all, so including hidden stuff, which normally .git and .gitignore are hidden. .git is just the information that GitHub uses. Gitignore is the files um, that you might have in this directory that you don't necessarily want to commit to GitHub. So I think somebody asked a question earlier about using GitHub with Unity or using Git with Unity, and there's a file size limit, and you don't necessarily want to commit your some gigabytes of assets. You can have all your assets in say an assets folder, and then just git ignore in the git ignore file. Um, we can just add say like the assets folder to the git ignore file. I used Nano, which is a text editor. You can use any other text editor. You can open it with Notepad, doesn't matter. But yeah, now that git ignore has been updated, if I had an assets file in here and I did a commit, it would not touch anything in the assets file. And if I say moved into chapter 2 and listed the stuff, oh look, the three folders for 3 different homework assignments for chapter 2 are there. And if I view what's in them, yep, there's cargo files and source files for Rust, which are pretty typical for a Rust project.
Yeah. Any questions so far? Any confusions to clear up? No stupid questions.
No questions are stupid. Phrased slightly differently.
All right, now we're going to engage rave mode. Wave your glow sticks if you have a question. Or just leave.
Don't forget to stop at the gas station.